Zappia is a champion. The 400Thunder series kicked off in Sydney, and the Pro Slammers opened their season with a strong win to the reigning champion in his Fuchs Lubricants Holden Monaro. This man is so hard to beat, but that same weekend saw this incident in the semi-finals when Mark Balleri in the Holden Trade Club Monaro had everybody talking about his cool head in a difficult situation. This team knew they had the potential, but couldn't put it on full display courtesy of this accident. Today, we welcome you to the Perth Motorplex in Western Australia. The race has been on by the Fabietti team to be ready for this round, and they are due to be the first car on track, so this only adds to the pressure. First qualifying session coming your way for the Pro Slammers. We've got Mark Balleri on track now. Great to see him back after his accident in Sydney. This is a little bit of a checkout run because they have literally just finished the car. And you can see problems off the start line. A little bit of a shake, rattle and roll for him. So not a representative pass, but the good news is the car went down the track. It steered straight. It did everything it needs to. That's what they're after. Gary Phillips in the near lane taking on Andrew Searle in the far lane. And a very, very nice pass there for Gary Phillips. A 5.92 straight into the 5-second zone for the 17-time national champion, and Andrew Searle, a solid run for him as well. On board with Ben Gray, the race face on, the wide eyes. And you can see all the fun stuff happening inside that car, but all eyes are on Peter Kapiris, and a 6.01 looked a little bit quicker than that, but a 6.01's a solid run. It's a good data gathering run, and that will get him into the field. Now we come to the 8-time reigning national champion, John Zappia, on his home turf. Is there any harder task in any kind of motorsport in the world? I don't think there is, because this man is virtually unbeatable. He's taking on Grant O'Rourke in this qualifying session. Big wheel stand. Big wheel stand for John Zappia. That is going to hurt his ET. Pulls it back at the other end, and a 5.82. I did not expect that. Over 400 kilometres per hour. This just proves how good John Zappia is. Picks the front wheels up, hits the wheelie bars, unloads the rear tyres, and still gets it down the track.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a bad run. I didn't think it was that good. But, the Fuchs Monaro was pulling really strong on the back half, but it left hard and did a pretty violent wheel stand, rattled the tyres in the air. People said they saw air under all tyres, and then pedalled it, punched second gear, and it still carried the wheels for 2 seconds before the front wheels hit the ground, and ended up a 10th ahead of the field and 11 kilometres an hour faster than anyone else at the moment.
Well, after all the problems they had in Sydney, it is fantastic to have the Holden Trade Club Monaro back here on the tour in Perth.
The first run didn't probably go quite according to the schedule or the plan.
No, that's right.
Morris?
Yeah, unfortunately we drew the short straw and we were the first car out there on a pretty green track, and I just had it way hotted up too much.
And look, evidenced by the fact that quite a few cars did struggle in the first session.
That's it. As the session got on, the track got better and better, and the guys started to go fast. You know, we didn't think we were going to be the first pair out there, and I had it wicked up a bit too much, and we paid the price.
Qualifying session number 1 was a bit of a mixed bag for most of the teams, but for John Zappia, it's exactly the same as it's always been. Number 1 qualifier. Qualifying session number 2 highlights now, and it's under the lights here in Perth, so that's going to change things a little bit as far as the way the crews tune these cars. We've got this gorgeous gold car of Mark Chapman on screen, giving it a really red-hot go over the centre line. That run will be disqualified. Let's have a look at the replay. Started just turning the tyres, didn't actually shake them too bad, just too much wheel speed, got him out of the centre of the lane, over that centre line, and unfortunately for Mark Chapman, he will not qualify in this second session. Andrew Searle left the screen, taking on Pat Carboni, the South Australian now over in WA. Problems for Carboni, but the Mustang, how about that run for Andrew Searle? Oh, only a 6.30, 398 k's an hour. The speed is definitely up there, but the elapsed time just not quick enough this time for Andrew Searle. Peter Kapiris, former national champion in this class, up against Pino Priolo. And Peter Kapiris, how about that for a run? 5.86. That is a fantastic run. Puts him way, way up the qualifying list. Pino Priolo, another good run for him as well. On board with Ben Bray, looking across to see the Holden Trade Club. Monaro out the window. Mark Valeri, good to see him back on track, fading into the distance, though, behind Ben Bray. And Ben Bray, a very, very nice run. 6.04. It's not a 5-second run, but it is definitely moving in that direction. Very, very good run for Ben Bray. Perth local now, Dan Gregorini. This gorgeous green Camaro. They say green is bad luck on race cars. I'd have to disagree. I think this car is absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. Dan Gregorini taking on Robin Taylor, the Victorian, in the far lane, who has his hands full in a big way in the other Camaro. Dan Gregorini, though, a great run for him, a 5.86, running right on par with that run from Peter Kapiris. And he's got some problems here, trying to get the car stopped. You can see the brake rotors absolutely glowing red hot. Just noses it in, and unfortunately it looks like the rain is going to draw a close to this session while we're trying to dig Dan Gregorini out of that sand trap. Let's have a look at the replay. Robin Taylor, he was all over the place, but this is where it got exciting. And Dan Gregorini, big, big problems. They're going to have some work to do to get that back for the rerun of session 2. Well, unfortunately, the rain got the better of us last night, coming in halfway through the second qualifying session for the Pro Slammers. Unfortunately, what's happened is we've had to wipe that entire second session from last night. We're rerunning it this morning. This is Sunday morning. It's race day here in Perth, and this is the second attempt at qualifying session number 2 for the Pro Slammers. Gary Phillips in the far lane. He's taking on Mark Chapman in that gorgeous Chrysler. And problems on both sides of the racetrack, hosing out a lot of raw fuel up over the windshield there for Mark Chapman and for Gary Phillips as well. That is very, very uncharacteristic. That car has generally been making pretty good runs off the trailer, but this weekend it looks like they're struggling just a little bit off the start line. Let's have a look at the slow-mo. Way too much wheel speed for Mark Chapman. Straight up in tyre smoke. Pedalled it, and it looks like as he came off and on the throttle, it looks like it's blown a fuel fitting off, and a lot of raw fuel going up over that car. Pat Carboni, far side of the racetrack. He's taking on Andrew Searle, the Queenslander, the Acme Composite Supplies Mustang. And let's head down to the pits and find out what went wrong for Gary Phillips.
Yeah, well, the first one was good. That was the one that was important to us. So, yeah, the 592, but we just tried some stuff on the second one just to see what it would take, and didn't want to take it. So we'll just go back to what we know for first round, and it was mainly to get in the field was the aim of the game.
Good news for Gary Phillips. He's still in the field with that 592 from the first session. Andrew Searle, closest to screen, taking on Pat Carboni now. Both these guys are outside the field as it stands at the moment, so they need to improve in a big way. Oh, problems for Andrew Searle. He's not giving up yet, though. He's really staying in the throttle across the finish line. Good run from Carboni, a 6.07. That's going to be very close to getting him into the field. 6.17 for Andrew Searle. That's going to be delicately close to the bump spot. Having a look at the replay, yeah, just way too much wheel speed for Andrew Searle. Up in tyre shake. Looked pretty clean on the far side for Pat Carboni, though. He'll be pretty happy with that, and a 6.07 has got him in the field at the moment. One more look at Andrew Searle and the violence of the tyre shake right there. Problems for him, but Carboni, he's in.
We had a few issues in the first couple of rounds with the clutch and some changes that we made, but we got on top of it in the end and it paid off.
Now, we know that nobody can control the weather, but I tell you what, Peter Kapiris wishes that he could, because that rain last night really hurt him. He was sitting pretty in the number 2 qualifying spot with a 5.86. He's going to have to do it all again after that run was nixed. And it looks like he's giving it a very good shake here. He gets it through. It's not as quick, but it is a 5.92. He gets into the field. Pino Priolo, though, a 6.13. That is going to be perilously close to that bump spot. I think he's in the field at the moment, but there is still plenty of room to move in this field. Still plenty of cars to come in this session, but I think they're all already qualified, so that means that Pino Priolo is safe on that bump spot. And looking at the replay, it was a good run, solid run for Peter Kapiris.
makes a difference to me. I've got guys who tune the car. I just drive the car, and they say, right, they're going to do this, yeah, whatever, let's go. We go racing. So anyone knows me will tell you I got nothing to do with it, eh? Nothing to do with it. I just drive the car.
Just do it for fun and the love of it.
Yeah, for fun.
On board with Ben Bray now, the Century Batteries Corvette. This car is absolutely spectacular. Still virtually a brand new car, and great to see Mark Valeri back racing after that big incident that he had in Sydney. And we got a race on our hands here. Well, we did until half-track. Problems to Ben Bray. But Mark Valeri, you talk about going from the outhouse to the penthouse, 584 with a 6. That's good enough for the number 2 qualifying spot at the moment. And yeah, the lower belt came off it for Ben Bray. That's a problem for him. As soon as that belt comes off it, you lose all drive, you lose the engine, and essentially you're a sitting duck. But Mark Valeri, 584, moves straight into the top half of the field.
Yeah, no, we're really happy. Last night we struggled a fair bit with the track conditions, but no, Morris and the whole team put his Holden Trade Club Monaro down with a 582, so we were happy with that.
Well, Dan Gregorini had a fantastic run last night in that voided qualifying session number 2, a 586, but he had his fair share of problems at the other end, trying to get the car to stop. One chute came out, big problems, and he rode it all the way to the sand track.
Second one, I did a bit of a short shift, went 586, I think it was. Got to the braking area and it was a bit greasy down there, only one chute come out, and yeah, tried to stop it and didn't quite, but we got no damage. There was just a lot of sand everywhere. Crew worked hard all night cleaning it all out, so we're good to go today.
Second qualifying session rerun now. Dan Gregorini left of screen. He's hoping that he could repeat his performance from last night. Oh, no, he's not going to be able to. Robin Taylor, though, good run for him of 623. It's not quite enough to make the field. I said that all the cars were already qualified in this field. Robin Taylor was the one exception. That was my mistake, but still, it doesn't matter to Pino Priola. He is now safe on that bump spot. Unfortunately for Robin Taylor, Victorian couldn't make it in, and Dan Gregorini, he's already safely in the field with that 5-second pass from the first round of qualifying. Final pair for this session, and it is the two guys who have gone hammer and tong over the last few years. It is Grant O'Rourke, closest to screen. We're on board with him here. This is a fantastic shot, taking on the 8-time national champ, John Zappia. Bringing the RPMs up as he bumps the car into stage. Oh, he's actually rolled the beams. He has rolled the beams. That is going to hurt John Zappia in a big way. And Grant O'Rourke legs it through for a 587, cracks the 400-kilometre-hour barrier as well. But John Zappia, what happened there? We'll go on board with Grant O'Rourke. First, you can see him plugging the air-shifted gears. All he's got to do is hit a button, puts his hand up to the chute lever, throws that, the head goes forward, the chutes come out. This is what I want to see. John Zappia, he just brought the RPMs up and the car rolled the beams. That run is null and void. The second qualifying session won't exist for him, but Grant O'Rourke with a very solid pass into the 580s.
Today, are you happy with that result?
Oh, certainly happier than being any slower than that, without a doubt. It was a lot better track today than what we sort of probably expected. Can't be complaining about where we're at. Look, to run what do you run, 87 against those guys was really good. Yeah, certainly happy.
You're up against Daniel Gregorini. Thoughts on that one?
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, no problems at all. No, Daniel's good. He's good fun. He's a good racer. He's good on the whites, so it'll be a good race without any question. Let's go out there and make some educated calculations what we're going to do and go from there.
So this is the way your eliminations ladder is shaping up. Peter Kapiris will take on Gary Phillips, Dan Gregorini and Grant O'Rourke to do battle. Mark Valeri and Pat Carboni, and John Zappia taking on Pino Priolo.
I come into stage and total driver error. It was taking too long to stage, and I just lifted my foot on the clutch to move forward a bit more, and it jumped forward, and I red lit and deep staged, and then I went, well, and then I just idled down and sort of wasted what could have been some data on the run. But anyway, so we're going in the first round a little bit blind, but I think we'll be okay.
Don't go anywhere. We've got all the Pro Slammer eliminations coming up after the break. Eliminations time here in Perth for the 400 Thunder series. First time that we've been here in Perth, and it's shaping up to be a big, big day of eliminations. We've got Peter Kapiris right of screen, Gary Phillips in that gorgeous Lucas Oil Products Studebaker. Two former national champions on the start line right here. There's a lot of experience, probably 50 years of driving blown alcohol vehicles of all different types and descriptions. But this is going to be a great race. Remember, they qualified 4 and 5. So in theory, on paper, these guys are the closest matchup of the first round of racing. Kapiris in that very aerodynamic 59 Chrysler Saratoga. Very, very similar aerodynamics to a doorstop. This thing has got so much downforce and so little drag, it's incredible. Gary Phillips, this car's pretty swoopy in its own right, the Studebaker on this side of the track, but this is going to be a great race. We're set for a start here in Perth. Oh, Kapiris had to do some driving. So did Gary Phillips, and a 6 flat on the nose. 394 k's an hour for Peter Kapiris. He moves through to the semi-finals and takes out a big scalp in Gary Phillips. Now, Phillips had to do a lot of driving here. The car washed way out of the groove, and I dare say it probably got up on 3 wheels. It did right there, and by that point, his day was done.
Peter Kapiris, you're through to the semi-finals. You've got to be happy with those apples.
Oh, yeah. Bloody oath. I can't believe Gary pulled a light on me. I was just lucky. Yeah, no, it was a good deal. I'm right. It's always good.
Peter Kapiris understandably pretty chuffed with taking out the legend in Gary Phillips. But we've got another fantastic matchup here. Dan Gregorini, the local, the Perth racer who loves to put on a good showing here in front of his home crowd, taking on Grant O'Rourke, a guy who, and I'm sure he won't be offended in me saying this, has surprised a lot of people over the last couple of years. He has become a perennial championship contender, and I tell you what, this team is one to watch. If anybody can give it to the might of John Zappia and that Zappia racing team, the Fuchs Lubricants team, it is this team. They have really come on strong, and it's great to see a guy who has really paid his dues in the form of Grant O'Rourke, and of course his wife Debbie as well. She's been alongside him the whole way through this, racing her own deal in pro alcohol. But I tell you what, it is fantastic to see such a good family-based team doing such a good job in the Pro Slammer series. And Dan Gregorini, he's another young guy who's been racing these cars probably for upwards of about 5 years now. Does a lot of racing here at the Perth Motorplex, so they've got a lot of data on this track. They know exactly what it does and when it does it, and they can tune the car to suit. Though remember, he did have that trip into the beach last night. Hopefully that didn't affect his preparations for eliminations too much heading into the first round. Oh, Dan Gregorini way out of shape, and that opens the door for Grant O'Rourke, gives him pretty much a free pass through to the semi-final there, a 588. I tell you what, Dan Gregorini, he knew he had to throw a lot at this race because Grant O'Rourke has been so good over the last couple of years that you don't get any easy runs when you're against him, and Dan Gregorini threw a lot at this racetrack. It looked to me like it just spun the wheels ever so slightly. Yeah, that's what it is, just a little bit too much wheel speed, shook the tyres, throws the car out of the groove, and by that point you can see that Grant O'Rourke is already taking off into the distance. And I tell you what, O'Rourke nailed the setup on that run, just picking up the front wheels ever so slightly. He's on his way to the semi-finals. Just a fantastic run from O'Rourke. The front wheels just dancing in the air and the car going straight. That is a key thing in these door slammers. Not a lot of steering input for Grant O'Rourke there. That's exactly what you want to see when you see an onboard.
At the moment, we're obviously trying to go a little bit quicker. That run was a little bit hard from my point of view. We did what we did, and as I pulled the visor down, the guy Andrew brought me into stage. I pulled the visor down, and it just fogged up, and I've just gone, I don't know what to do here, and I've had to flick it up. I had no option. I couldn't see, so it's rattled me a little bit on the start line. I got smoked on the tree. Well done to Daniel there. But look, from there on in, I was going to take it. You got to treat each bit at a time. And as soon as we left the line, I just had to do my job. So it was great, a really good run.
Not a whole lot of smoke out of either of these cars for the burnout, but that shouldn't make too much of a difference. The tyre technology these days means that you don't have to smoke the tyres as much as you used to, but I tell you what, it's not as much fun when you do small burnouts. And Mark Balleri, particularly when you're driving someone else's car, you may as well get stuck into it. And Mark Galleri driving for Morris Fabietti in the Holden Trade Club Monaro. They've had a pretty eventful season so far. We've already touched on it earlier on in the show, but that big accident in Sydney, fortunately, it was only cosmetic damage, or primarily cosmetic damage, that occurred to that car. And they're back here in Perth only a couple of weeks later. And Pat Carboni, a guy who's been running on the door slammer scene for on and off probably 5 or 6 years now, and doing a really good job. When they first came on, it was a real learning experience for them. They've now become a quality car and a quality player in this 400 Thunder series, so they're starting to look for round wins, starting to look for event wins, and that, at the end of things, that is the end goal for pretty much all the races in this class. Pro Slammer, one of the most exciting classes that we have in the 400 Thunder, coming your way. And Mark Galleri, a 6.18, probably not what I would have expected out of him. He was killer on the tree, 0.41 on the tree. That is a fantastic light for him. But a 6.18, I would have expected the car to be a little bit quicker than that. What happened to Carboni? I was expecting a clean run from him. He's been making good runs all weekend long, but it's that dreaded tyre shake once more. You see the rear end start to shake around. The body panels look like they're in a paint mixer, and that's the end of his day. Mark Galleri, though, what can you say about that team? You talk about bouncing back from adversity. The 6.18, as I've said, it's not a quick run, but I tell you what, he is setting himself up well to take on Grant O'Rourke, the four-man, in the semi-finals.
Oh, we're wrapped. You know, after smashing the car last meeting, to come back, qualify second and win first round, we couldn't be any more happier now. Hopefully we can go on and we can get into the final. But Grant's a hard task, so we'll see how we go.
Final elimination pairing for this first round of racing, and on paper usually the number 8 qualifier taking on the number 1 means that it's going to be a non-contest, but today is not a normal day because John Zappia, he comes in as the number 1 qualifier, but he has not had a good weekend. Other than that first run, the car has been misbehaving. The driver hasn't really been on his game either. He admitted that he made driver error in that second qualifying session, so he's really going to need to step up here against Pino Priolo. And, well, Priolo, he comes in as the number 8 qualifier, but he hasn't really done much wrong this weekend. He got into the field, which in its own right is a very tough ask. Anytime Pro Slammer comes to town, you know it's going to be a tough deal to get into the field. He did it. His reward is to take on the 8-time national champion John Zappia in the Fuchs Monaro. Oh, what a race. Pino Priolo on a massive hole shot. A massive hole shot. He runs a 6.07. John Zappia goes almost 0.2 of a second quicker than him and loses the race. That all comes back to the start line. It's a visible hole shot. You can see he's almost half a car length in front of John Zappia before Zappia even moves. Pino Priolo chalked that one up to the driver right there. The car did its job. Zappia had his own problems in the far lane, just tried to wind a little bit too much power into it, picked up the front wheels. Again, we've been seeing that all weekend from him. Short shifts it, and he just can't run down Pino Priolo in that far lane. Very close at the finish line, but Priolo, your winner.
John, commiserations. Nobody saw that coming.
No, I just got distracted staging and it didn't quite go in, or the clutch has been a bit different this weekend. It's just not been staging the way I normally do, but just, I don't know, it just took a little bit longer to stage, and then bang, there was a light there, it took too long to take off. Then the car took off really hard, but it rattled really hard, blurred my vision, stayed on it a bit too long, got back on it and still made a 586 out of it, which is pretty amazing, but just missed him on the finish line. So, next time, but we'll be a bit more prepared. We'll learn from our mistakes and, well, my mistakes this weekend, and we'll go from there.
Well, we go from a very subdued John Zappia after losing that race to the absolute elation of Pino Priolo. He's going to be one excited man.
Pino Priolo, you pulled a rabbit out of a hat there.
Oh man, I had to just throw everything I had at it. And the way to do it, I just got him on the line. You know, great reaction time. My boys were really pumped about it. I was certainly pumped. One of the guys coming to turn the air bottle on, and I was that pumped I screamed, and I think I scared him. But mate, John's such a great competitor, you know, and he's just so hard to bring down. And when you race him, you just think he ain't going to beat me, I'm going to beat him. And that was my attitude.
Well, the weather has got us once again. It got us last night, and it has been threatening to do it again here today, and unfortunately it has. The decision's been made to call off the event here tonight. However, the semi-finals and finals will be run at the next round of the 400Thunder series here in Perth.
We've decided to come back for the Western Nationals to run the meeting out. So what we'll do is the first qualifier will be as normal, then the second qualifier will be the semi-finals, and the third one will be the final. So that's a fair way we thought about it, and we voted on it, and we're happy with the decision.
Well, you heard it. That's the way our semi-finals will shape up. It will be Mark Balleri taking on Grant O'Rourke and Peter Kapiris taking on Pino Priolo at the next round of the championship. Next week, we have all the action from the top bikes here at the Nitro Slam in Perth. But that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.